The attic smelled of dust and old memories, the air thick with the scent of forgotten time. Emily Carter climbed carefully up the creaking wooden stairs, her flashlight cutting through the darkness. The house had been her grandmother's, passed down to her after Margaret's passing. Emily hadn't intended to stay for long, just sort through the belongings, finalize the estate, and move on with her life. But something about the old house clung to her. Boxes were piled high, relics of a life long gone. Among them, a wooden chest caught her eye, its brass hinges tarnished with age. With a deep breath, Emily lifted the lid and froze. Inside lay an old leather-bound diary, its cover worn but oddly preserved. The initials MC were embossed on the front, Margaret Carter. Curious, Emily sat down amidst the dust and memories, flipping open the first few pages. Her grandmother's delicate handwriting filled the paper, flowing in neat cursive. Emily was born today, a bright-eyed girl with her mother's smile. She will grow to be kind but carry burdens heavier than most. Emily's heart stopped. She blinked, rereading the words. The entry was dated March 5th, 1995, the day she was born. But this was impossible. Her grandmother had died 10 years before she was born. At first, Emily tried to brush it off as a coincidence, maybe a trick of her tired mind. But as she read on, the entries became even more unsettling. The diary chronicled her life in shocking detail. Her childhood scraped knees, the high school heartbreak that left her reeling, even the move she had made to the city after college. Every moment was written down, years before they happened. Emily flipped furiously through the pages until she reached one that sent chills down her spine. Tomorrow, Emily will lose her job. She won't see it coming, but it's necessary for her to finally return home. Emily's stomach churned. She had been laid off just last week. Was it coincidence, or was something else at play? The diary haunted her thoughts for days. She couldn't ignore it, couldn't explain it away. And then, one evening as she sat in the flickering glow of the living room lamp, she turned to the last entry. A week from now, tragedy will strike. Emily must stay away from Claire's house. Her hands trembled as she read her best friend's name scrawled on the page. It was impossible to ignore. Claire had invited her over next weekend for dinner. Emily stared at the words, dread coiling deep in her stomach. Should she call Claire and cancel? What if she was overreacting? But deep down, something told her the diary wasn't lying. Against her better judgment, Emily met Claire for coffee instead, far from her house. As they sat sipping lattes and catching up, a news notification pinged on Emily's phone. House fire on Oak Ridge Street. Residents narrowly escape. Claire's address. Emily's breath hitched. If she had gone as planned, she would have been inside when the fire broke out. Claire, oblivious to the weight of Emily's thoughts, continued talking about work, unaware of the disaster she had just avoided. Emily stared at her, feeling a creeping unease coil through her chest. The diary had been right. It wasn't just coincidence anymore. Determined to uncover the truth, Emily searched through the attic again, finding old letters and belongings of her grandmother's. Hidden in a locked drawer, she discovered a bundle of notes, Margaret's letters to an unknown recipient, detailing a curse that followed their family. Some things are better left unknown, one note read. The diary does not predict. It controls. It binds us. Emily shivered. Had her grandmother been a prisoner to this book too? As the days passed, Emily found herself obsessively reading through the diary, desperate to learn more. But the further she delved, the more she noticed the entries shifting, changing. She could swear that things she had already read were different now. The diary was rewriting itself. Then she found the newest entry. Emily will not escape. The diary belongs to her now. Her breath caught in her throat. That night, Emily tried to destroy it. She tossed it into the fireplace, watching as the flames curled around the leather cover. But as the fire roared, the diary remained untouched, sitting perfectly intact among the embers. Panicked, she buried it deep in the woods behind the house. The next morning, it was back on her nightstand, open to a blank page. And then words appeared, scrawling across the page as if written by an invisible hand. "You can't run." Tears pricked at Emily's eyes. The house, the attic, the diary. Everything was pulling her deeper into something she couldn't understand, couldn't control. Emily sought help. She visited an old friend of her grandmother's, Agnes, who had always been wary of the Carter house. When Emily explained what was happening, the old woman's face darkened. That book isn't a diary, Agnes whispered. It's a binding. Your grandmother tried to fight it, but it always comes back. It's been with your family for generations. How do I stop it? Emily asked, desperation in her voice. Agnes shook her head. You don't. You either accept it or it takes everything. With nowhere left to turn, Emily made a choice. She packed her things and left the house, leaving the diary behind. She moved across the country, determined to start over. For months she felt free. She got a new job, a new apartment, a new life. Until one day, a package arrived. No return address. Inside was the diary, pristine, waiting. The first entry now read, Emily moves away, but she will return soon. The diary always wins. Her hands shook as she dropped it onto the floor, her reflection in the nearby mirror staring back at her. Except, it didn't blink when she did. No matter how far she ran, Emily knew the truth. Some fates can't be escaped, and some stories write themselves.